Hi, welcome to the second part in the attachment disorder series. I'm going to change attachment disorder to attachment injury because I've been doing a lot of research about this topic, and that seems to be the most, I don't know, awesome term, I guess, because it doesn't sound like, disorder, you're a disordered person. It's like, hey, it's an injury that can be healed. I like that. I'm just putting my water down. So, we talked about the what did we talk about? Oh, right, secure attachment style. We talked about dismissive avoidant attachment injury. So on this one, we're going to talk about the anxious preoccupied attachment style. So what does that mean if you have an anxious preoccupied attachment style injury? Well, it kind of is what it sounds like it is. So you're anxious and you're preoccupied. You're preoccupied with your attachment figure. So we grow up as children with attachment figures in our life. These are people that we have designated in our minds to be safe, soft, secure bases for us to exist in. They provide us with love, warmth, affection, all that stuff. And there are different people. Our parents are, for the most part, our primary attachment figures. However, as we grow and pass through our lives, those types of attachment figures change. We form relationships with people, primarily partners, children, friendships, so on and so forth. And depending on the level in the rung on your ladder of intimacy where these relationships fall, your attachment styles will be affected. I mean, you have to have had this attachment script in order to be able to execute healthy relationships. So, if you have an anxious preoccupied attachment, what does that mean? That means that you have grown up in an environment where you have been not consistently reinforced as a child. So, you had a parent who was either totally into what you were doing, they love what you do. They're happy about your awards. They think you're a great student. Maybe they protect you and they take care of you. And then all of a sudden, things change. One day they don't want anything to do with you. It doesn't feel like they have a lot of time for you. You start to get anxious and wonder why all of a sudden mommy or daddy is acting differently towards you. Everything was the same that it was the day before. I'm still the same kid. I'm still doing the same things. Why all of a sudden do I feel like they want nothing to do with me? Why they're spending all this time, with somebody else or doing something with somebody else or not giving me the same compliments as I got before. And it becomes this ruminating, preoccupied, anxious, obsessive kind of self-doubting prophecy that unfortunately plants a seed in the mind developmentally when it comes to attaching to other people. And is the side effect of this is that you don't feel worthy. We don't feel worthy as children who grow up with this attachment style. You're constantly basing your self-worth on the proximity that you have with your attachment figure. So I'll self-disclose, I have this attachment injury. I have an anxious preoccupied attachment injury because I had a parent who was present but completely unavailable. And this constant sense of never really knowing where or when or how, we're not sure. When you're a kid, you internalize everything, right? Because that's how you work. You're selfish. Children are selfish. They haven't yet kind of understood, hey man, there's a whole world out there that goes on that isn't just all about me. So children turn on themselves and think, oh, this is my fault. Or maybe you had a parent that told you it was your fault. Either way, as an adult, this attachment injury affects you in the following way. You don't believe people's affection for you. If people say you're beautiful, if people say you're amazing, if people say that you're lovely, it's almost like if you accept these things into yourself, you're betraying yourself and you don't believe it. You just really are constantly questioning people's motives. You're questioning whether or not they're sincere or genuine. And at the same time, you're constantly trying to find ways to show that they mean so much to you, or that you'll do anything for them. This constant need of reinforcement that you're enough, you're enough, you're enough. Even to the point where physically, if you're not in their proximity, you feel anxious, you feel stressed out, you don't really know what to do with yourself, you feel like there's this impending sense of anxiety and uncertainty that accompanies the time that you're not together. Those of us who suffer from this attachment injury spend a lot of time preoccupied with whether we are good enough for our partners, our friends, our coworkers, our jobs, our children. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to have this attachment injury. So it's important to remember that people are going to say you're clingy and obsessive and stressful, and you know what? The truth is, yeah, you are. We are. It can be that way. It's exhausting trying to fill. I mean, think about what it's like trying to bail out a boat with a hole in it. That's what it's like trying to get close to people like us. It's like everything kind of bounces off, but we're still kind of trying to prove that we're enough. So that never-ending cycle just drives us insane, to the point where we push people away because it's too much. So that's an example of the anxious, preoccupied attachment style. So the next one that I wanted to talk about is the fearful, avoidant attachment style. Now, fearful, avoidant attachment means that you're someone who longs to have, you have a yearning, you have a desire for attaching to another human being, of wanting to have a relationship, of wanting to have a lover, to be close. But as soon as you get in there, all of a sudden, something unpredictable happens, and holy crap, you're out of there like the Roadrunner, right? So like that puff of smoke, and you're out of there. I can relate a little bit to this myself. These injuries can kind of run amok in and out with each other in little bits and bites, depending on the kind of individual you are. But yeah, so the sad thing about this is that, these people, we, as I'm just going to speak like that, because I hate saying these people, it sounds terrible. We are the kind of people who, want that ideal partner. But everything has to be lined up just as such, right? Everything has to the domino effect has to happen, because, we're crawling out of the bunker and we're going, hey, holy crap. Like, is it safe? Is this person really safe? Because I really want to be close to them, but now they're asking for these things, and you know what? At the end of the day, this is too much, and I'm just in way over my head, and I can't do this. You're a very lovely person, and it's been a nice date, but I have to go. And they're gone. So, it's important to know that this is a serious trauma-based disorder. Like, this is usually the result of, violence, physical abuse, sexual abuse, serious emotional abuse. This is a severe trauma-based attachment style. And it's important to remember that there's a reason you're like this. I mean, there's a reason why all of us have disordered attachments or attachment injuries, but it's really important to remember that there's going to be kind of post-traumatic stress symptoms associated with this kind of fear-based, fearful avoidant type of attachment style. And so how does that manifest itself as an adult? Well, kind of like what I talked about. People who go out and date a lot of people, but they never really are able to stick with anything. And not in the way a dismissive is. A dismissive person will just be like, well, whatever, I don't need it. Or, this person's hanging around and it seems to be okay, but whatever, at the end of the day, I don't really need them. Whereas a fearful avoidant person will come in and go in and like you, and then all of a sudden things get too intense and I am out of here, like I said. So it's important to be patient and mindful that, people with these kinds of attachment injuries just need time and space to see that you're not going to hit them or scream at them, or, the other shoe's going to drop because that's usually been the experience. So all in all, it's important to just be loving and mindful and compassionate when dealing with anyone with any of these types of attachment injuries. Does it mean to put up with their shit? No. It means that we have to be accountable. We have to be accountable for our behavior. Sorry. But it's important that we are mindful of the fact that we didn't get this way in a day, and we're not going to undo this in a day. And the people who love us have to be receptive to that too. If we're working hard in therapy with ourselves to overcome these issues, and people have chosen to love people like us, they have to be accountable as well for the fact that there's work involved in that. I mean, it's kind of like loving a rescue animal. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about myself, is like, you know, it takes a special person to deal with a complex rescue animal, but at the end of the day, when you put in that work, I mean, it's a pretty intense bond, isn't it? Because it's not like any other bond, you know? So that's how I'm going to close this. You're special. You just need a little time to warm up, you know, and it's not going to be easy. So, in the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and sleep on it, because it will be better in the morning. All right. Love you guys. Bye.